Have you noticed how some people wake up and instantly feel unstoppable, while others hit snooze, scroll their phones, and drift into chaos? The difference isn't luck, motivation, or talent, it's how they start their morning. Think of your morning as the foundation of a house. A weak, shaky foundation means the walls above can never stand strong. But a strong, carefully built foundation supports everything you want in life. Your morning rituals are those bricks, small, consistent actions that create massive change over time. Today, I'm going to share 7 powerful morning rituals that can energize your body, calm your mind, and align your spirit so you don't just go through life, you live it with clarity, purpose, and unstoppable momentum. Change your mornings and you change your life forever. The first key point is waking up in complete silence. Before the world calls for your attention, before the phone lights up with demands, before the news, before the noise. It is in these early moments, when the world is still half asleep, that you have the rarest gift, time that belongs entirely to you. Most people rush through tea, sacred stretch, slipping from bed into the chaos of their day, but the quiet carries a power that is often overlooked. In those first breaths, when the room is still dark and still, you are alone with your mind, and this is where clarity begins. The silence doesn't demand anything, it simply allows you to notice what has been buried under your routines. The restlessness, the small regrets, the flickering ambitions you forgot to nurture. In the hush of morning, your thoughts are like seeds waiting for sunlight. If you let the noise invade first, those seeds are drowned before they have a chance to grow. But when you sit in quiet, even for a few minutes, you begin to hear your own inner voice, the one that isn't reacting, arguing, or judging. It speaks softly, but it speaks truth. It reminds you who you are and what matters most before the world convinces you otherwise. There's a subtle gravity in stillness, a depth you cannot find scrolling through feeds or checking emails. This silence is not emptiness, it is presence. It is the pulse of life itself before it gets tangled in everyone else's expectations. Waking up silently teaches patience in a world built on urgency. You realize that nothing has to happen immediately, that your mind doesn't need to sprint before your body is ready. The world has not yet started pulling you in every direction, and this moment belongs to your own rhythm. You learn to honor it, to breathe slowly, to observe your body and thoughts without interference. In this practice, you discover an intimacy with yourself that most people spend their entire lives chasing. It's in these minutes that you can confront fears without pressure, listen to doubts without panic, and begin to imagine possibilities that were invisible amidst the daily rush. Silence also allows you to separate your identity from your roles. Without the clamor of expectations, employee, parent, friend, student, you are left simply as yourself. Who are you before the labels, before the tasks, before the judgments? Sitting in this quiet exposes the small truths about what drives you, what excites you, and what you've been avoiding. There is a gentle confrontation in this, a mirror held up not to your mistakes but to your potential. And when you meet that potential in the stillness of morning, you carry it into the day with an unspoken confidence, as if you have a secret that the rest of the world has yet to discover. The practice transforms how you relate to time itself. Most people measure mornings by alarms and schedules, by obligations and deadlines. But when you begin in silence, you sense the elasticity of those early hours. They are not borrowed from someone else. They are yours to shape. Your attention is no longer a reactive tool. It becomes a creative instrument. And you begin to notice how small actions, like a deep breath or a thought intentionally chosen, ripple outward to influence every decision you make. This is where discipline is born, not through force, but through quiet awareness, a steady shaping of the mind before the day demands it. There is also a subtle healing in this first quiet moment. The mind, when allowed to exist without distraction, begins to untangle itself from the residue of yesterday, the minor regrets, the unresolved conflicts, the tiny worries that accumulate like dust. In silence, you can acknowledge these things without being swallowed by them. You give yourself permission to feel without reacting, to observe without judgment, to settle internal turbulence that otherwise colors every interaction. This early calm becomes a reservoir of patience, of resilience, a deep well you can draw from when the day tests you. Finally, waking in silence connects you to a rhythm larger than yourself. The world is still, the birds may not yet sing, the sun may be just brushing the horizon, but the day is quietly preparing itself, moving in cycles that have persisted long before you existed. By aligning with this natural pause, you align with something enduring, something steady that outlasts fear, distraction, and doubt. In this quiet, your mind expands, your heart steadies, and a sense of purpose begins to rise. Not loud, not urgent, but inevitable. It is in these moments, before the world intrudes, that you remember, life does not have to push you forward. You can rise, fully aware, fully present, fully in charge of the path you will choose. The second key point is hydrating your body first thing in the morning, before any food, before any caffeine, before the world demands anything from you. Most people underestimate this simple act, treating it as a habitless routine, a task as dull as brushing teeth. But water is more than liquid. It is the messenger that signals life has returned to your body after a night of stillness. Overnight, every cell has been whispering for attention, every muscle has been waiting to awaken, and your organs have been quietly cleaning, repairing, balancing. A single glass of water is the first conversation you have with yourself, saying, I am awake, I am here, I am ready to feel fully alive. When you pour water into your body, you are pouring clarity into your mind. Dehydratio. N is subtle but cruel. It clouds focus, saps energy, and whispers excuses before the day even begins. The brain, starved of fluid, struggles to think, to feel, to respond. The smallest decisions feel heavier, the simplest emotions feel muted. But the moment water hits your lips and courses through your veins, a hidden switch flicks on. Neurons fire with sharper precision. Thoughts straighten themselves. The fog of sleep lifts not just from your eyelids but from your awareness. It is a quiet awakening, a literal and symbolic cleansing, a reminder that the smallest acts can carry immense power. Drinking water. First thing is also an act of respect for your body. Many of us treat ourselves like machines we can run dry, tossing fuel in only when we crash, only when our tanks scream empty. But the body is more intelligent than we give it credit for. It remembers neglect, it stores tension in muscles, it hoards stress in the gut. Hydration is not indulgence, it is a declaration that you value your own life, that you honor the vessel that carries your mind and soul. This one simple act says you are not disposable, that your well-being matters enough to start the day intentionally. Water also carries rhythm. It wakes you with a gentle cadence, as if every drop is a drumbeat calling your cells to rise. Some mornings it feels like your body resists, like stiffness and fatigue cling to every joint. That first glass cracks the ice. It stirs circulation, expands lungs with oxygen, nudges the heartbeat into a steady, patient rhythm. It is not a rush, not an adrenaline spike, but a natura, L unfolding, a quiet momentum that your body has been waiting for. Every sip becomes a small victory, a signal that the day does not control you. You control how you enter it. Hydration is surprisingly emotional too. Many people underestimate how much anxiety, restlessness, or irritability stems from a body that is parched. Thirst masquerades as stress, fatigue, or impatience. When you drink water, intentionally you are not only quenching a physical need, but soothing a hidden emotional strain. There is a relief, almost imperceptible, as tension loosens in shoulders, as the chest feels lighter, as the mind quiets its complaints. Your body and mind are intertwined, and this act is a bridge connecting them, showing that attention to self is not selfish, it is necessary. It is also a rehearsal, or discipline. In a world full of choices, it is easy to ignore simple needs, to give in to distraction or convenience. But choosing to drink water, to pause and hydrate before everything else, is a small act of mastery. It trains the mind to prioritize, to honor cause and effect, to take responsibility for the signals of the body before the external world imposes its chaos. This daily ritual is subtle, almost invisible to others, but internally it shapes a person who responds thoughtfully rather than reacts habitually, who builds consistency in private and strength in public. Finally, water is a messenger of potential. Every cell it touches carries a reminder that you are capable of renewal, that every day is a chance to reset, to refresh, to start anew. This glass, humble and unassuming, is a declaration that your life is worth tending to with care, that the foundation of energy, clarity, and resilience begins with honoring the simplest need. When you give your body this first attention, you set a tone that whispers throughout the day, you are not drifting, you are deliberate. You are not surviving, you are alive. You are not reacting, you are ready. The third key point is moving our body in the morning, not just to wake up, but to wake the energy that has been sleeping inside you overnight. Movement is often mistaken for exercise, as if it were merely a task to burn calories or sculpt a shape. But it is far more than that. Movement is a language your body speaks to your mind, a conversation you can have with your own energy. When you stretch, when you walk, when you let your arms reach and your chest expand, you are telling yourself that you are ready, not just to start the day, but to live it fully, awake in every sense of the word. Every small movement in the morning is a signal to the system that you are present, that you are choosing to inhabit this body and this life deliberately. The stiffness in your shoulders, the heaviness in your limbs, the sluggishness in your joints, these are not weaknesses. They are whispers from the night that your body is waiting to be noticed, waiting to be called into motion. By moving intentionally, you honor those whispers. You tell them, I see you, I hear you, I am ready to carry myself through the day with strength and awareness. And in return, your body responds with clarity, lightness, and focus. Movement also clears invisible fog. Most mornings, thoughts are tangled, emotions are jumbled, and the mind is scattered. But when your body begins to flow, stretching, bending, lifting, stepping, your brain starts to mirror that rhythm. Blood flows more freely, oxygen floods the system, and suddenly the weight of yesterday begins to lift. You realize that the heaviness you felt is not permanent, it was stagnation, waiting for you to stir it awake. As your limbs loosen, your mind loosens too. Movement is not just physical, it is mental liberation, a gentle reminder that energy, like water, must move to stay alive. The beauty of morning movement is that it reconnects you to your own presence. Life often pulls you outward, demanding attention, forcing reaction, measuring value by productivity or comparison. But when you move your body for yourself, the world falls away for a few minutes. You are no longer a task or a schedule or a worry. You are motion, breathing, and pulse. You inhabit your own space fully, and in that inhabitation you discover a quiet confidence. You realize that your body is not an obstacle to achievement, but the vessel through which every thought, every action, every ambition will pass. Movement also unlocks a hidden courage within you. Every stretch, every step, every heartbeat is a tiny act of defiance against inertia and fear. Your body is prone to comfort, to stillness, to avoidance of discomfort, and yet you insist on motion. That insistence ripples through the mind. Hesitations shrink. Decisions feel less heavy. When your body proves it can move through resistance, your mind learns that it can move through uncertainty. Courage is not always bold or loud. Sometimes it is the quiet discipline of standing up, stretching, and allowing yourself to be in motion even when the day feels too heavy to face. Movement shapes awareness in a way that words cannot. As you walk, stretch, or sway, you notice the subtle sensations, the tension in your back, the tightening in your pelvis, the expansion in your lungs. You feel yourself not as a concept, not as a plan or a role, but as a living organism, intricate and intelligent, capable of self-healing and self-expression. That awareness teaches patience with yourself. You begin to understand that your limits are not walls, but invitations to explore, and your strengths are not trophies, but tools to navigate every challenge. That will come today. Finally, movement in the morning aligns your body with the rhythm of life itself. The day has not yet begun to press its demands. The hours are open like a blank sheet. Every motion you make is a note in a symphony of potential, a chord that resonates through your muscles, your mind, your spirit. By moving first, you are declaring that you are not passive. You are not drifty. You are awake, alive, and intentional. You step into the day not as someone at the mercy of circumstance, but as someone who has already stirred the energy within. And that energy carries you forward, ready, unshakable, and present. The fourth key point is practicing gratitude first thing in the morning, before you check your phone, before you think about what's missing or what went wrong yesterday. Gratitude is often misunderstood as a simple exercise or a polite habit, but it is far deeper. It is a lens, a way of seeing that reshapes the very fabric of your day. When you pause and acknowledge what you truly value, you are planting seeds in your mind that will grow into resilience, clarity, and joy. It is not about pretending life is perfect. It is about noticing what is already alive and tender inside your own world, even when chaos surrounds you. Gratitude begins quietly, almost invisibly. It might be the warmth of the sunlight touching your skin, the steady rhythm of your heartbeat, or the breath that carries you through another morning. Most people overlook these small miracles because they are ordinary, but ordinary is deceptive. It is the foundation of extraordinary. When you notice the ordinary with intention, it sparks a shift. You stop starting the day from scarcity and start starting from abundance. This shift is subtle, but it changes the way your mind interprets everything else, turning obstacles into lessons and struggles into opportunities for growth. Acknowledging what you are grateful for also reconnects you to your inner self. Life tends to pull us outward, R&D, toward comparison, to-do lists and distractions, until we forget the quiet presence of our own hearts. Gratitude in the morning is a mirror, reflecting back the truth that you are more than your worries, more than your failures, more than the judgments of others. It reminds you of the people who have shaped your journey, the moments of kindness you often ignore, the small victories that are easy to overlook. In that reflection, you find stability, a quiet center that no external storm can shake. The act of gratitude also rewires perception. When you focus intentionally on what is already good, your brain begins to seek it out throughout the day. You begin to notice generosity in strangers, patience in difficult colleagues, opportunities in inconvenient circumstances. Gratitude sharpens your mind not by adding more to notice, but by revealing what was always there. It turns the lens from fear to appreciation, from limitation to possibility, and suddenly life feels less like a series of burdens and more like a collection of moments waiting to be acknowledged and honored. Gratitude has a profound emotional effect as well. It softens the edges of anger, the weight of anxiety, and the heaviness of sadness. When you focus on what is present and meaningful, your mind releases tension that otherwise gets trapped in worry or regret. The body follows the mind. Your shoulders relax, your chest opens, your heartbeat steadies. What begins as a mental exercise becomes a physiological recalibration. You are not just thinking differently, you are being differently. Gratitude becomes a cue. You wield strength that accompanies every interaction and decision throughout the day. It also invites perspective, a rare gift in a world that measures value in speed, success, and comparison. When you practice gratitude, you see your challenges as part of a larger story, not as permanent labels of failure. You notice how far you have come, how many small steps you have taken without noticing, and how many unseen forces have supported you along the way. Perspective rooted in gratitude allows you to act with patience, respond with kindness, and move with intentionality, because you are no longer weighed down by what is lacking, but buoyed by what is already present. Finally, gratitude is an act of empowerment. By naming what you appreciate, you reclaim agency over your inner life. No one else can give you this perspective, and no external circumstance can take it away. It is a quiet rebellion against the chaos, a declaration that your mind is not captive to worry or scarcity. In the early hours of the day, this practice sets the tone. Your mind begins with recognition, your heart begins with warmth, and your spirit begins with strength. Gratitude does not just shape your morning, it shapes the way you move through every hour, every choice, every encounter, giving your life a pulse of clarity, calm, and possibility. The fifth key point is feeding your mind before the world feeds you, choosing what enters your consciousness before the noise of notifications, headlines, or endless scrolling takes control. Most people wake up and hand over the first hour of their day to distractions, to content that isn't theirs, to stories written by others. But the mind is a garden, and what you plant first is what will grow. If you water it with chaos, worry, or comparison, you will spend the rest of the day pulling weeds. If you feed it with ideas, wisdom, and insight, your thoughts bloom into clarity, creativity, and strength. When you start your day with meaningful content, you are giving ourselves permission to think deliberately. A few pages from a book, a short podcast, a quote to reflect on, these are not chores but invitations. Invitations to expand beyond yesterday's limitations, to step into perspectives that challenge and inspire you, to see patterns and possibilities that often go unnoticed. In these moments, you are training your mind to recognize value, to seek insight rather than distraction, and to measure your world through awareness rather than reaction. The morning is when the mind is most receptive, like soft clay waiting to be shaped. What you allow in first sets the tone for every decision, every interaction, every emotion for the rest of the day. When you start with shallow entertainment or endless social media scrolling, you begin under the influence of unmotivated priorities, someone else's fears, someone else's agenda. When you start with wisdom, even briefly, you reclaim control. You set boundaries for your thoughts and you remind yourself that your day belongs to you, not to the noise that is always ready to pull you away from yourself. Feeding your mind intentionally also strengthens resilience. Life will always present distractions, challenges, and voices that try to pull you off course. But when you have built a foundation of insight, a quiet understanding of principles, and a steady connection to ideas that elevate you, the mind becomes less vulnerable to panic, comparison, or confusion. Your focus becomes like a river, moving steadily despite rocks and bends, because the source is strong and deliberate. Early nourishment of E-mind cultivates this inner river, one that can carry you through the unpredictable currents of the day. It is not about knowledge accumulation, it is about perspective and alignment. The world offers countless stories, but few that align with your purpose. By choosing what enters first, you are choosing what frames your reality. Each morning becomes an opportunity to align your thoughts with you. Our intentions to prime your mind for creativity, empathy, and strategy. You begin to notice solutions where before there were only problems, opportunities where before there was doubt, and clarity where before there was noise. What you feed first is not trivial. It colors every subsequent thought, every choice, and every interaction. There is also a subtle emotional benefit that often goes unnoticed. Leading your mind with wisdom or meaningful ideas creates calm, a buffer against stress and anxiety. When you begin the day inspired, informed, and aware, challenges feel less like obstacles and more like puzzles waiting to be solved. Your inner dialogue softens, fear becomes manageable, impatience less pressing, and overwhelm loses its grip. You are not just learning, you are preparing the emotional terrain of your day, cultivating resilience from the inside out, before the external world begins its relentless testing. Finally, choosing what enters your mind first is an act of ownership over your life. It is a declaration that you will not drift, that your day is intentional, that you are not a passive receiver of circumstance. The wisdom, insights, and ideas you consume early in the day ripple outward into every decision and action. They anchor you to your values, elevate your awareness, and cultivate a sense of purpose that carries through even the mundane. Feeding the mind first is not merely a habit, it is a statement that you are in charge of your thoughts, and through your thoughts, in charge of your life. The sixth key point is planning your day with intention, taking a fee. Quiet moments to decide what truly matters before the chaos of life begins to pull you in every direction. Most people wake up and let the world dictate their agenda, moving from task to task, reacting to notifications, emails, and urgent demands. But when you pause first, even for a short time, and choose your priorities deliberately, you step out of the role of passive participant and into the role of creator. Planning with intention is not about rigid schedules. It is about aligning your actions with your values, about deciding what deserves your energy and what can wait. When you focus on what matters most, you create clarity in a world designed to overwhelm. The human mind is not built for endless choices and constant distraction. It craves direction, a clear line through the fog. By selecting just 3 priorities for the day, you carve a path through the noise. Each chosen task becomes a signal, a small lighthouse guiding your attention. And as you move through the day, you feel a subtle but profound confidence because your actions are not random. They are deliberate steps toward the life you are building. This practice also shifts your relationship with time itself. Time oft N feels like a river rushing past, carrying us in directions we did not choose. But when you plan with intention, you slow the current, you claim a pocket of control, and you begin to move with purpose. Every morning, by naming what matters, you create a rhythm in which your energy flows towards significance rather than exhaustion. You stop scattering yourself across minor tasks and start concentrating on what will make the day meaningful. It is in these small acts of prioritization that freedom emerges. Planning intentionally also exposes hidden resistance and hesitation. When you sit with your priorities, you confront the subtle doubts and fears that shape your decisions. You may realize you avoid certain tasks because they challenge your comfort, because they demand courage, because they require you to stretch beyond what feels safe. By recognizing this, you invite growth. Planning becomes a mirror reflecting not just what you will do today, but what has been holding you back in every day before this one. And when you take the first step toward what matters, fear begins to shrink in the light of deliberate action. It is also a practice in self-respect. Each morning, by choosing your priorities, you are affirming that your attention is valuable, that your time is worth defending, that you deserve to direct the energy of your life. Many people surrender this authority to others, to schedules dictated by work, social pressures, or endless commitments. But when you take a moment to set your own course, you reclaim it. You send a message to yourself: my life is mine and I will steward it thoughtfully. This quiet assertion of agency builds an inner strength that carries far beyond the tasks of a single day. Intentional planning cultivates resilience and adaptability simultaneously. Life is unpredictable. Interruptions are inevitable. But when you start with clarity about what matters, you create a mental anchor. Challenges no longer feel like storms that toss you off course, they become currents you navigate with intention. You know what can bend and what must remain steady. Prioritization teaches discernment, the ability to distinguish between what deserves your reaction and what can be observed and released. Your day becomes less reactive and more purposeful because you are responding from a place of choice rather than obligation. Finally, planning with intent. Try and transform small actions into momentum. Each step taken toward a chosen priority carries energy into the next. Decisions feel lighter, tasks feel purposeful, and progress accumulates naturally. When your morning begins with deliberate choices, you walk through the day not as someone at the mercy of circumstance, but as someone orchestrating their own rhythm, moving from task to task with presence, focus, and quiet power. Each moment of intention compounds, shaping a life where purpose guides action and direction replaces drift. The seventh key point is speaking to yourself with courage first thing in the morning, before the world's opinions, before the noise of obligations, before doubt and fear begin whispering in your ear. Most people wake up and let their inner dialogue drift letting old insecurities, unfinished regrets, or imagined limitations dictate the tone of their day. But the words you choose in those first minutes are not just sentences, they are instructions to your mind. A declaration of how you will meet life today. Speaking with courage is not bravado. It is a steady, quiet insistence that you are capable, that you are worthy, and that you can navigate whatever the hours ahead may bring. When you speak courage into your own life, it becomes an invisible armor. The inner voice that often doubts, compares, and criticizes is like a storm waiting to shape your day. But when you confront it with deliberate words of strength, the storm loses its intensity. Courageous self-talk is a declaration that you will not let fear write the script of your morning. It does not deny difficulty or pretend the world is easy. It acknowledges reality while asserting that you will meet it with composure and clarity. In these moments, you are training your mind to respond with resolve rather than recoil, to act with intention rather than hesitation. Courage in speech is also a form of alignment. Every thought and word we speak to ourselves carries energy. When you tell yourself, I am ready or I am capable of facing this day, you are aligning your inner world with your outer actions. This alignment reduces friction between intention and behavior. The body begins to mirror the voice of courage. The shoulders relax, the chest opens, the eyes hold steadiness. Speaking boldly to yourself in the morning sets a rhythm for your day where your inner dialogue upwards your movement rather than sabotaging it, where belief precedes action instead of lagging behind it. It also reframes the way you encounter challenges. Without deliberate courage, every small setback can feel insurmountable, every unexpected obstacle a personal failure. But when you anchor your day in the quiet confidence of self-affirmation, difficulties are reframed as opportunities to learn, to grow, to act. Your inner voice becomes a coach instead of a critic, a partner instead of a punisher. Speaking to yourself with courage transforms ordinary moments of hesitation into invitations to step forward, reminding you that fear is not an enemy to defeat, but a signal that growth is nearby. Courageous self-talk in the morning strengthens resilience over time. Life is rarely a straight path. It is full of unanticipated detours, disappointments, and resistance. When your first words to yourself are ones of determination, you begin to build a mental muscle that resists being derailed by circumstance. Your confidence does not come from external validation, but from the practice of consistently choosing how you will speak to yourself. Each morning becomes a rehearsal. Each sentence a repetition that strengthens the foundation upon which you face the day. This practice also fosters self-compassion. Courage is often misunderstood as toughness, but in this context it is gentleness paired with honesty. You speak courage not to mask weakness, but to acknowledge it and move forward anyway. You can say, I am anxious but I am capable, or I am uncertain but I can act. There is profound power in naming vulnerability and following it immediately with resolve. The voice that rises from courage is kind yet firm, realistic yet ambitious, supportive yet unwavering, reminding you that strength is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it. Finally, speaking with courage plants seeds that ripple through every interaction, every decision, every moment of the day. The words you give yourself first shape the energy you carry into meetings, conversations, and choices. They inform how you respond to setbacks, how you show up for others, how you invest in your own growth. Courageous self-talk transforms the invisible dialogue into a foundation of presence, clarity, and action. It is a quiet yet profound declaration that you are not waiting for life to empower you, or claiming your own strength moment by moment, breath by breath, word by word. When all of this comes together, the silence, the water, the movement, the gratitude, the wisdom you choose to feed your mind, the clarity of intention, and the courage you speak to yourself, you begin to see the mornings not as a routine but as a doorway that has always been waiting, quietly, patiently, for you to step through. Each ritual is a thread, weaving together the scattered pieces of your mind, body, and spirit into a fabric strong enough to hold the day and steady enough to carry you through the year. In the calm of these early hours, you realize that life does not need to be urgent or overwhelming. It simply asks for presence, for attention, for care. The world will always offer its house, its noise, its endless pull, but the mornings remind you that there is a space inside yourself that is yours alone, a space where clarity can take root, where energy can gather, where purpose can align. When you honor that space first, everything else finds its place more naturally, more patiently, more meaningfully. You will not always be perfect. You will not always feel ready. But the CTIs of these moments, the intentional acts you commit to each day, builds a quiet resilience that does not rely on circumstance. It is an inner strength that rises slowly, steadily, without clamor, shaping your thoughts, your choices, and your presence before the world has a chance to define them for you. You begin to understand that mastery is not about grand gestures, but about small, consistent care that compounds over time. And in that understanding, there is freedom. Freedom from the constant rush, the scattered attention, the weight of endless demands. Freedom from the subtle voice of doubt that tells you you are not enough. The morning becomes a sanctuary where you reclaim what is most essential: your mind, your body, your clarity, and your courage. Each ritual, each deliberate choice, whispers the truth you sometimes forget in the noise of the day, that you have more control than you realize, more strength than you credit yourself for, and more capacity to live deliberately than you allowed. As the sun rises, as the world stirs, there is a stillness in knowing that you have begun differently. You are not carried along, you are moving forward with quiet intention. Your thoughts are sharper, your energy steadier, your heart calmer, your spirit anchored. There is a rhythm now between who you are and what you do, a rhythm that allows you to meet the day with balance rather than reaction, with clarity rather than confusion, with presence rather than distraction. This is not about perfection or achieving every goal. It is about inhabiting your life fully, moment by moment. And beginning with the first breath of the morning. When you step into your day carrying this presence, everything else, tasks, challenges, interruptions, opportunities, arrives into a space you have already claimed. Your mornings are no longer a small part of life, they are the foundation. And from this foundation, you move forward grounded, steady, and awake in a way that quietly transforms everything that follows. So, as the hours unfold, remember this quiet truth. Your life is shaped first by the moments you give yourself, before the world calls for your attention. Each morning is a chance to meet yourself fully, to settle into clarity, to speak to your courage, to align your inner will intention. And when you do, you carry into every day a presence that is calm, grounded, and unshakable. A presence that will remain long after the rituals are done, quietly guiding every thought, every action, every choice you make.